You're listening to Micras Cast, the podcast about all things Micras.
Well, that's really nerdy.
Nerdy or not, here we go. This is Micras Cast with your host, Ed. Intellectual, stimulating conversation.
Hello, hello, hello. You are listening to Micras Cast. I am your host, Edgar Carrillo. Welcome. Thank you for listening. Today I have a fireside chat with Ric. Ric is a longtime veteran of Micras. He's been involved in many Micronations. He is currently involved in Elwyn and in Shireroth. So I had a lot of fun chatting with Ric. We went down micronational memory lane, and he gave me a full view of his involvement in many different micronations. We talked about when we crossed paths when I was first starting to. So I just had so much fun with Ric, and I hope you guys enjoyed the interview as much as I did. Thank you, and here it is. Okay, so I have with me the wonderful Ric, who has been around the Micras for a while, just like I have. I don't want to imply that he's old or anything. I'm old. I'm the one that's old here. So I am so excited to have you on, Ric. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. So Ric, just to kick this off, how did you get started in Micronations, if you can remember?
So I think it was in 7th grade. I was very into Star Trek Voyager. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but bear with me. And I thought it was so cool with the whole concept of being something that isn't real. So they're like living into it. So I found this role-playing forum online, which was about Star Trek. So you played your own character, like a written narrative, like story for multiplayer story game. And well, this is where the nerd comes out. Full disclosure, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But and I really enjoyed it. But then the forum folded, and I was just looking for some similar experience, and was looking around, and the same like forum, like this whole narrative community. They had another one. It was more of like a political game, and for a while I ran India before I was kicked out for some unknown reason. I don't remember why I was kicked out. I was ruling India and had interactions with other countries, and all through this whole narrative theme. It was like Model UN, but like with more backstabbing and stuff. And for some reason, I managed to find an online forum called like micronations.org. And I remember seeing you there because you posted a lot about Madland back then.
Yes.
And you were like, I mean, like you were totally carefree. You just like posted. And you basically spammed the forum with Madland stuff. And this forum was mostly secessionists.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, I was not aware of that at the time. I just thought these were people that were just a little bit more serious about it than me, but I didn't catch on to that point.
Exactly. But then I also remember that I managed to find like a link to Babkha through a forum, and I wrote an angry rant about how horrible the Babkhans are because they had just had an auction of slavery and slaves and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, the Babkhans must be the most horrible people on the earth. But that's how I came in contact with Babkha. And in the end, I joined it. It was my first Micronation that actually became a citizen of, because before that, I was like you in Puritania, that whole libertarian hippie commune where, and for some reason, I started chatting with this guy called Julian Starr. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I remember him, yeah.
Yeah, and he was the Lord Protector of Puritania, and it was really cool. And somehow I managed to end up his deputy for some odd reason. Look, I was like 14 or 15 back then, so I'm not really sure why I ended up his deputy either. And I think Edwyn is young these days, but yeah.
Oh, little Edwyn.
And that's how it all started.
Yeah. I remember the Puritania days. Those
Oh,
were fun.
They were cool. They were cool.
Yeah.
And you had your own province, I think, it was called like New Puerto Rico.
Yeah, because I just, everywhere I went, I wanted to recreate Puerto Rico. And I think that was just like, I think that was just me missing the place. And that's just how I wanted to like, sort of just like deal with it in that way.
So is Alexandria a mix of Quebec and Puerto Rico?
Basically. Although San Martin, I did draw heavily on Puerto Rico a lot for it, but I also drew on heavily on Chile.
Ah, yeah, the flag, yeah.
And Colombia. Although I can't just like take credit for San Martin because I did that also with Troy Thompson.
Oh yeah, you did it with him, yeah. Oh yeah, Miss Troy. I became like friends with him back then, and we were like chatting on MSN Messenger almost every day.
Yeah.
Oh, Troy. And he had these AOL Troy chats. Were you ever invited to them?
Yes, I was invited to a few of them, yeah.
Oh, the AOL Troy chats. That was amazing. That was like before we had MSN, and then everyone migrated to MSN. And then we went to like that IRC channel we had for a few years as well. Remember that?
Yeah. I, for some reason, never got on the IRC channels a lot because I didn't know what that meant for a while. I didn't know what that was. And then like I just...
Or maybe this was during when you were in college, so you were probably busy doing other things.
Yeah, like there were times
you had a life. Unlike others.
So like now that I'm doing a podcast, does that mean that I have less of a life?
Well, you're also at home 24/7 these days. So.
Well, yeah, fair point. Yeah, I'm not the only one. But it was me, Troy, and
Oh, Troy. Oh, I wonder, is he well? Do you know anything?
I have him on. I have him as a friend on Facebook, and he seems to be doing fine. Yeah,
I'm glad. But he was like from North US, like Minnesota, Michigan, something like that.
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because
Swedish.
I remember that we bonded over being in the frigid Midwest, and that was like our first. That was our first thing, and like I would call. Well, not actual call, but like I would call on him for advice on how to deal with winters, because I'm like, dude, I didn't know that these winters dry you out so bad. Like,
yeah, it gets pretty cold.
Yeah, like I have to moisturize and shit, you know? You know, because like...
But that's why you got so good skin these days.
Yeah, because I had to moisturize.
Thanks to Troy.
Yeah, thanks, Troy. I'm going to have to share this with him on Facebook. I mean, like, thank you, Troy, for teaching me to moisturize, because now I have great skin. Thank you, Troy.
Oh, Troy. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope he's doing well. I'm pretty sure he's doing well. Or he seems to. Like, social media for everyone is just like a highlight reel.
Yeah.
You never know what's going on behind the scenes.
Suddenly you see like a picture from someone's wedding or something and they're in the corner.
Off to the side. But yeah.
Yeah. So from that, I ended up in Babkha, but a lot. I had my own avatar character there called Rashid Arsalani.
And you became Shah at some point, right?
Yeah. First I became the Grand, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Vizier. Yeah.
I think. I might be horribly wrong because people correct me on pronunciations on things.
Grand Vizier. Then it was like more Persian than Vizier.
Yeah.
And I was back then, Babkha was actually a parliamentary constitutional monarchy, and it wasn't as evil as it later evolved into. I mean, there were actual parties, and parties formed coalitions, and there were elections for seats in the parliament. These were not the simulated stuff that I'm doing right now. These were actual people voting for seats in parliament. So it was a big base of voters and active members of the community. And somehow I ended up being the leader of one of the parties called the Besaz Party, which was not really the party I would have joined, but I think Ardashir forced me to join it rather than, because otherwise I would have joined the Babkha Liberal Centre Party, which was more attuned to me.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he managed to hijack me before I realized what kind of party the Besaz was. But yeah, and I was leader of the government for a while there, and I tried to do some reforms, but by then, like the Majlis, the parliament, sort of like folded down and things got, and then Babkha decided to join the Grand Commonwealth. Do you remember?
I remember that. My brother was involved in Air League.
Oh, really? I never really got that.
Dugobert Wormser. That was my brother, Gus.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that was Gus.
Social now. Wow. Cool.
That was Gus. Gus and I would get into a lot of fights behind the scenes about the creative direction of Alexandria because he wanted to make it more evil. He would be like, we need to be like Babkha. We need to be ruthless. We need to like be mean. We need to like project power everywhere. And I'm like,
no, I want this to be my libertarian utopia.
yeah, I want this to be a nice place where I get to practice my French and reenact Puerto Rico.
Oh, where I am the emperor.
I mean, yeah. So like,
so lovely. So that's your youth together.
Yeah, we did a lot of these things together. But he started getting involved in other nations when he would get mad at me, and he's like, I'm gonna get involved in other places, and I'm like, okay, have fun.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. So and then during my reign, and then during the time in Grand Commonwealth, Ardashir decided that he didn't want to be Shah anymore.
Yeah,
and I replaced him.
Yay!
And now this is where the cool part starts. So this was the time when, I became Shah, and we immediately sort of like went for independence from the Grand Commonwealth as Babkha. So it was during my reign that Babkha was restored as a sovereign state.
Okay. So like, can you tell me a little bit about like what led to that? Because I remember that there was often like drama amongst the members of the Grand Commonwealth.
A lot of people were frustrated with the directions taken by Ian de Vembria. And there's always been friction there.
Was he also from Airlig, or was he?
Yeah, he was originally from Tresia.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
And then he's sort of like been everywhere, like in Elwyn and Shireroth and Babkha.
So, quick review. Members of the Grand Commonwealth, this is what I remember. Babkha, Airlig, Cardinali.
Yep.
And I don't remember the other ones.
I don't remember either. There weren't really any big important ones otherwise than those.
Yeah, like everyone else was just like tiny or, oh gosh, I hope I don't offend anyone.
Yeah, we're probably going to offend everyone. Exiles from the community will be expelled.
Okay, so I'm going to have one of my "This is why I suck" segments later on to beg for forgiveness.
The public apology and all that. Anyway, yeah, so, and obviously after this, the independence, the Grand Commonwealth folded immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But we in Shireroth, and meanwhile, were things going on there. And I sort of decided to join Shireroth because Ardashir had just left Shireroth because he was like ruling Elwyn, which was before his reign in Elwyn, this big hippie elvish community where people were singing in trees and dance and everything. And it was just it was like Lord of the Rings of steroids.
Okay.
And then the Babkhans come in and Babkhanize everything. So he was like, so this like, yeah, like we're going to industrialize, we're going to tear down the forests and having like concentration camps and stuff. And it's basically like imagining like like a 19th century army invading the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Like
Rivendell or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like Mordor actually finally making it into.
You said it, not me.
Okay, like I'll take responsibility for that.
And so that's when I decided to join Shireroth, and I became involved with Elwyn that way. But at the same time, there was this big power struggle, because in those days, the Kaisership of Shireroth, sort of like every 3 months, give or take, it rotated among the citizenry. It was a very interesting tradition that they had back then.
Yeah.
And basically everyone managed to, at least once, I think, end up a Kaiser, even you.
I know. Even me.
And
to think that I ended up as Kaiser because of Harold.
Yeah. But at least you ended it honorably.
I tried. He named me because he thought that because that we were friends, that I would do whatever he wanted me to. And I'm like,
no, I'm an adult now.
Yeah. But
speaking of, I actually enjoyed the Shire Wiki article about Joel and his singing career. was it called the Basement Boys or something like
some
that?
shit like that. I don't
It was very cute.
Well, I think it's just like I used to talk to Harold a lot. Like we used to be like really good friends. And I would tell him about like, hey, like I'm playing guitar, I'm playing in these bands. And I think that
So we
was
wanted
like,
to like fulfill your fantasies.
yeah. And I was just like, we don't have to bring that into this, but like, okay. You know, like I didn't think it was bad. So I'm like, okay, fine.
So there's a big power struggle in Shireroth back then. So like every 3 months there would be some sort of backstabbings and people like bribing each other to get the Kaisership.
Yeah.
And everyone wanted to leave their mark as Kaiser. But at the same time, there was this Jacobus Loke.
Yeah. Originally from Siberia, right?
Yeah, not the nice one, the other one, the evil one, the Federal Republic of Siberia.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification because I get them confused.
Yeah, so there were 2 Siberias. One which was like this anal law writing club. That's what they all do on this Yahoo server.
Yeah.
And then there was Loki's own Siberia, which was just him.
Mm-hmm.
And despite just being him, it was a federal republic. It was always important to say that. So it was like his first chance at getting the Kaisership. But then comes Hesam and sort of like Shazam. And manages to convince the people of Shireroth to let him be the Kaiser. I mean, like, this is insane. Like, he had no connection to Shireroth beforehand or anything. And he was like, he was a Babkha, and he was far more evil than Ardashir. I mean, Ardashir was really evil, but Hesam was really evil. And yet, they made him their Kaiser. So what is the first thing he does as Kaiser? He goes to the secret forum in Babkha, and this role plays this whole I'm ceding the sovereignty of Shireroth to the Shahanshah of Babkha, me. And it's this whole, like, giving all the regalia of the imperial statehood of Shireroth into the hands of the Shahanshah, who then became like the Kaisere Kayasirat, the Kaiser of Kaisers, was basically one of the titles of the Babkan Shah after that. Mm-hmm. So like supreme overlord over Satrati, which was the Babki word for Shireroth. So, according to Babkan law, Shireroth was from that point onwards a dominion of Babkha, and there was no Kaiser. There was only he who sat on the mango throne on behalf of the Shah in Babkan law. So, and this became a big stir, and it was really fun. But I also had a lot of anxiety because these days I took Micronationalism far too seriously. So I decided to swap places with Hesam. So he became the Shah, and I became the fake Kaiser of...
he who sits on the mango throne.
Yeah, but Kaiser in the Shirerithian law. And I was Kaiser there, using my same character as Rashid.
Mm-hmm. How many times have you been Kaiser? I feel like you've been Kaiser a lot. Like
there are 4 Aryans and 1 Nur. And I've been 5 times.
Okay.
So I was Kaiser Aryan, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and then Kaiseress Nur.
I always loved that name, Aryan. It's just pretty. It's a pretty name.
Well, it sounds... I didn't think about how it was pronounced, but now it sounds pretty much like white supremacy these days.
I didn't make that association with it ever.
It's the spelling, you see.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. But like, it's not... I want to state for the record, we wholeheartedly condemn white supremacy in this podcast. Just no. Just definitely. Yeah. So I want to make it clear.
So in those days, listen up, kids. In those days, the tradition was for the Kaiser to pick a name from the Cedrist or Shirerithian mythology. So you would take a god name to sort of like take on as your real name, just like the Pope takes on a saint name when elected Pope. Mm-hmm. And Aryan was a god of music in this mythology. But then this tradition sort of like folded after a while, so it's not really kept. So it's only like the Aryans and the Rainas and the Lokis who sort of like keep it. I lost my track now, sorry.
We were just going through your micronational history and
my career. Yeah, so
your career.
I felt really bad about this whole session because once I was Kaiser, I sort of like fell in love with Shireroth a bit more and its people, and managed. I felt like I actually got some kind of respect from the community, because I was actually the community. I was Kaiser. I was the master. I was like the ruler, and people showed me respect. And I became friends with Hypatia's mum and Corey. He was
I don't remember.
From Tokitai.
Oh yes, okay, I remember now.
Yeah, we had all these weird names with like triple R's and things like that. And I felt really, really bad about this whole session, because back then, and I was still young and dumb, and took micronationalism far too seriously. And I decided to sort of kill myself in character, obviously, not in real life. So the character died, and hopefully that sort of absolved my sins, in my opinion, but obviously didn't, because Babkha still claimed Shireroth for decades in the Norton calendar, of course, after that, for hundreds of years. Yeah, it was fun. But I was still stuck in Elwyn and Shireroth. I started developing Elwyn a lot more as this very divided society of where you would have the indigenous population, the Elw people, who have been displaced first by the Tresians, who brought their religion with the Church of Elwyn.
Yeah.
And then the Shirethians and then the Elves, which were Ardashir was kindly giving them a more ruthless name, the Elfinshi.
Ah, okay. I did not know that they were the same thing. I just thought that they were...
Yeah, it was basically give them like a more ethnic determinant rather than this whole Lord of the Rings copy.
Mm-hmm.
Because these elves were basically the Lord of the Rings. They had like names taken from the Lord of the Rings, from the Cinderillion, all these. Cirithil, the elvish queen, who was also Duchess of Elwyn for a while. She had Cirithil is a name from one of the Tolkien books.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And there was this big empire in the east called Meckelnburgh. And
I remember
and that was also big Tolkien ripoff.
Yeah.
There was like nothing unique whatsoever with it. Except it's all drama and split. And I was active in that country for a while as well.
Mm-hmm.
I managed to be on both sides after the split. So I was both in the evil one and the good one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, good times.
Good times indeed.
But I've managed to stay in Elwyn consistently throughout the entire period since then. And I'm quite happy with what Elwyn's turned out to be. It's this big multicultural like melting pot. And it's not always good. It's like often very, very bad, but it still manages to stay intact. And it's sort of developed its own like individual flavor, I find, with this whole Oriental Persian outlook on one aspect, with with corporal punishment and cudgeling and patriarchal structures and clans and stuff there. And then you have these hippie liberals in the north who like get naked in summer and dance around bonfires and and there's so many different regions, and I mean it's a huge country if you look at the map. So it makes sense that it has a lot of different flavors depending on where you go. I'm quite happy that it's sort of turned out what to be, and that people still fight over it. I mean, like I managed to be part of something that's actually feels important to people. Sort of fight over it. I mean, it's only pixels on the map anyway, but it's been there always. Elwyn has always been there on the map.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's always been a source of fights between people, like you said. Because, so I haven't posted the interview with Shireroth, but after we were done talking, after I stopped recording, we kept on talking for like a good hour and a half. Yeah. And we were talking about Elwyn.
Oh, really?
And like he was reviewing with me some of the fights back in the day. And because now all of this is available to be read through in the archives at Bastion, because all of this shit used to be locked up. It used to be in a private forum. How like the fights with Scott Alexander, who like, I've never been a fan of the guy because the guy never liked me. And he used to say all these things. Oh, well, Edgar shows promise, but he writes these articles with these great headlines that make you think these things are going on, and then you go to the forum and it's not. And I'm like, I'm simulating a country and it's just me. What do you expect, bro? You know? And what do you expect? It was just me. And also, like, I was 16, okay? I was 16.
And he was like 18. So he was always very mature for his age, I would say.
Yeah.
And like his maturity and his intelligence has brought him places that neither you nor I have ended up.
Well, yeah, and I don't hope to ever end up in there either. Because like, so I found him on Twitter.
He has a Twitter.
Yeah, and he is not verified, but the amount of verified people that follow him: Andrew Yang, Justin Amash, Bill Gates. I mean, like, people who like shape policy, are in the high echelons of governance in this country,
and I've
follow him.
And I've slept in the same room as him. Not slept with him, but in the same room.
You know, so like, yeah, and these people look up to him as somebody who, like, you know,
shapes policy, shapes ideas,
yeah.
philosophy. And here we are still fighting over his creations.
Yeah. Because like,
he created Elwyn. He created he drew the basic map, from what I understand, of the MCS. So we're still here while he's up there with Andrew Yang and these hotshots in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we still have the audacity to talk down on him.
I mean, just because he's up there doesn't mean that, like, I don't remember what he was like originally. Do you know? And like, sometimes
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
You know, like, sometimes
But if Scott is ever, if Scott is the only thing between me and the American presidency one day, then I'm sure going to use that contact.
Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I mean, like, you know, you can. He just wrote so poorly of me in the Microscope book because he thought that I created Senar, and I did not.
Created what?
Do you remember the Islamic Republic of Senar?
I thought you created that one.
I did not. That was not me. Who
created that one then?
So what ended up happening was I was sick of Alexandria because it just didn't have any momentum, and I was forming San Martin with Troy and David Redstone, who later become Alfonso Manuel Aruarte. And I wanted to, like, just kill Alexandria. And this guy who, like, in retrospect, to be honest, I think it was Pete James before he was Pete James.
Oh, him.
Yeah. It was like his first dabbling. And he wanted to, like, oh, let's create this story where, like, Islamic rebels take over the country, and then just, like, give me the forum so that I can start out with a user base. And I was like, I don't give a shit. And I just handed it to him. He took my administrator status away, deleted all of the Alexandria stuff that I made him promise to just keep as an archive.
It all went away.
Yes.
Why are you still friends with this guy?
I'm not.
I thought you were friends with him on Facebook.
Oh, well, I am friends with him on Facebook, but, like, I'm not, like, friends.
Oh, just Facebook friends.
Yeah, just Facebook friends. I mean, like, that doesn't mean anything these days.
Well, I was involved in Alexandria a few times, and then I sort of, like, drifted out, and I drifted in, drifted out. I had quite a few characters.
Yeah, because, like, that was early Alexandria too. Like, I still hadn't honed in. My current micronational creativity and the things that I do is so still to this day heavily influenced by my experiences in San Martin.
Well, Alduria is very much the same concept. I mean, in terms of how it functions.
Yeah, yeah.
And Capuscia was very similar as well in its function.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's different is Ranzanar. Or how do you pronounce it?
Yeah, like that, Ranzanar, yeah.
Or Ranzanar.
Oh, well, if I want to get real Hispanic, Ranzanar. You know, like, just, like, exaggerate the R. Because, like, these Americans around here, they can't roll their R's. And, like, I realize now that this might be a little bit of, like, fetishization of it. But, like, people used to be like, oh, Edgar, roll your R's for me.
The Latino privilege.
Yeah, Latino privilege. Everyone thinks I'm a hot lover, which sucks because, like,
You're not?
I mean, not everyone has that on every single day, every single minute. I can be bad in bed sometimes. That's a joke. I'm excellent.
Sometimes you have a headache.
Excellent. Right? Like sometimes you have a headache. Sometimes you don't feel like it. You know, like whatever.
But let's keep it that way. We have kids listening to the show.
Oh, right. Children. Yeah, I'm going to have to edit that part out. But yeah. So like a lot of my stuff is influenced by San Martin because in San Martin, I learned so much from Troy.
And he was very knowledgeable.
Yes, he is an insanely smart dude. And I learned a lot from him. And San Martin was such a great success. And like,
I mean, I remember San Martin and it was very, very cool.
Right? Like, I think that at some point there were like 32 active people.
So what happened to San Martin? I mean, it sort of ended up in Alexandria.
Drama. Well,
drama. Drama is the one that feeds our community. And that's why we had this whole...
It was just the internal dramas that you expect out of a large, successful micronation. I wanted to do things a certain way. Troy wanted to do them a certain way. Then it just became a race for president between me and him. And me being me, I didn't handle it well. So like I ended up out of power in San Martin. And then like...
You were like Fujimori.
Yeah, to some extent, except that I wasn't genociding the natives. You know, I'm sterilizing them. I wasn't doing that.
No, but you had a coup against yourself.
Yeah. Self-coup. but yeah, it's funny because...
Well, you're also Ed Fujimori.
The next cat that I get, I'm going to name it Keiko.
Better feed him cake.
It's like 10:26 a.m. and you mentioned cake and my mouth watered. Now I want cake.
Keiko needs cake.
That's right.
Yeah, so Alexandria was very cool and very fun to be with. And I remember founding a party with Pete, the Alexandrian Amelioration.
Yeah. So like Pete is eventually like got involved in Micronations under his own name and like did a lot of great things.
Yeah.
But like in the early days, just like a lot of us, you kind of start out as like a troll, you know?
Well, to be fair,
not all of us, but yeah, like some of us did get like, I know that I had some moments. I don't remember most of them, mostly because I think I've repressed them.
Well, I do remember some of your moments.
Yes, I'm sorry.
But let's not talk about those. But Alexandria was fun. I mean, I was leading parties a few times. I was conservative, I was socialist, I was liberal, and it was fun to, you know, go full in and start debating these insane things like, no, your taxation law is horrendous to the working class population. Or like, you have no empathy. Woo. So it was fun. That way you could just like shout at people and you got points for it.
Yeah, and people used to throw the kitchen sink at each other in those debates.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
So that was the part of Alexandria I really liked. The problem, I suppose, with Alexandria, they didn't really have much of a culture outside of it. So when there was no election season, there wasn't really much happening.
Yeah. So much of the stuff that I had developed for Alexandria. So like, and I think this is a problem that a lot of people in Micronations have. It's like, you have the idea here.
Yeah, but you don't put it on paper, so people won't understand it.
Exactly. And like, if you don't get the idea out of your head onto a wiki, onto a forum,
but now we have wiki. Now we have the wiki, and it's so good because you just write one. You have the idea, and you just write one line, and it's. But in those days, everything was forum based. So you basically had to write a new post explaining why you're retconning the entire history, and that annoyed people.
Yeah, and like I know that I was mortified. So like when Alexandria was Senar, we were in Apollonia, and that was around that.
That was why Kranda invaded you.
Yes, and I didn't know what I was doing. So like Kranda and Antica and everyone was just like ganging up on me, and I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna fight all these assholes. And then like, oh, these assholes are beating me. Oh, I'm the asshole. You know, so like I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't know what I was doing, and it was painfully obvious. And I wanted to redeem myself so badly by making San Martin a success. So
Which
like
you
that's
did.
why I was
And
so
it was
eager.
a success. I mean, it's what, like 15 years ago, San Martin was a thing?
Yeah,
And I still hold, I was never part of it, but I remember how active it was. Like, I visited the forum like maybe once a day, and suddenly it was like 300 new posts or something.
yeah, it was insane.
It was insane.
It was insane. And like,
But that's how how you, or Edgar, the emperor, managed to get Crandish titles of nobility. He
yes,
was Lord of Uthian or something like that.
yeah, mm-hmm.
So because of your being, and fun fact, the area that was Alexandria on Apollonia back then is now been claimed by the Meckelnburgh guy.
Yes,
And the capital there is called Alexandretta.
Alexandretta. Yeah,
And the culture of that place seems to be a little bit of French, a little bit Germanic mixed
yeah,
together. So you can still like see, like, even though this was total coincidence, you can still sort of like retcon in the idea that maybe some Alexandrians were left
yeah.
and stay true to their culture. Obviously, I mean, Meckelnburgh doesn't need to stay loyal to that idea, but for us who have been in Alexandria for many years,
It's nice to see.
It was some kind of warmth in our heart.
Yeah, to be honest, and that's one of the reasons why like I watch that country, just because I like the development. I like how James has been interacting with everyone in the community.
Yeah,
he seems like a pretty good guy.
Big welcome to James.
Yes, big welcome to James. I hope he's listening. But yeah, it looks promising, and it's just exciting to see. It's fun. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this is a beautiful walk down memory lane.
It is. Makes you feel young, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To imagine probably started Micronations before Edwyn was even born. No, that's probably a lie. He was probably still a toddler when I started, but
a twinkle in his daddy's eye. No, I don't know how old Edwyn is, to be honest. I just know he's young.
18, 20? Something like 18, 20, something like that.
Something like that, because he's in university now, right?
I think so. We'll have to ask him. You'll have to make an interview with him. I was 14 when I started.
Okay. And
you came like half a year later, I think.
Yeah. 2002 is when I started doing things.
Yeah, so you were 15.
Yeah.
14, 15, yeah. But our generation, the class of 1987, we've done great things. I'm sorry if I have to out Nathan for being that old as well, but he's our classmate as well.
Oh, and I love Nathan so much. I love that man to death. He's a good guy, a good friend. I love him.
And it's been the same. Natopia has been the same since it started, and it's still there, and it's still cool. It still has this wacky culture that's basically making fun of everything that's Mormon and everything that's bovine.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like managed to make a coherent narrative over the years that still interlinks with the rest of the community. And that is why I love Natopian, and I will stay Natopian proud till the day I micronationally die.
Yeah, because I also feel the same way about Natopia. Natopia is the one place where like I feel that it's a good home for the Alexandrian legacy, considering that Natopia, even though there were ups and downs in the relationships throughout history, just like with anything, but like Natopia was the one consistent friend to Alexandria.
And if I may make a more personal statement here.
Yes.
It was thanks to Natopia that I, as a closeted teenager, managed to find the courage to be open in this community.
That's amazing.
Because Natopia was there, it was proud, and it was very, very gay.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And Nate's being himself when I was so young, even though he was the same age as me, but he was much cooler than I was back then. Now it's sort of like...
That's still empowering to see. Because like, let's also remember Nate is in Missouri, which is basically the American South, okay?
Like Michigan with sunshine.
Yeah, it must not have been easy for him to be out.
Yeah, but he was, and he was so cool, and he inspired us as well. So big applause to Nathan.
Yeah, because Nathan also was an inspiration to me to be unapologetic. I was talking to Nathan about this a couple of days ago.
Really?
Yeah, because like he brought up that he has felt in the past that Natopia couldn't be as outwardly gay because of some of the opinions of people. And he says that he doesn't give a fuck now. But like there were times where he felt that like Natopia would just get labeled across the board as gay, no matter how good or fun or awesome the things that they were doing were.
I remember that.
And like he specifically brought up when Jack had that pirate that like raided.
Yes, the Natopian sin. That was what it called, the Natopian sin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Jack.
Yeah. Thank you, Nate. We stand our emperor of Natopia in this house. In this house, this is
and that is why he remains emperor and not sovereign. He is emperor.
But I like the proposal of sovereign. I like the idea of decoupling the gender part because...
Well, we can have a female emperor. It doesn't really matter. I mean, like, it's just this whole idea of an emperor having an empire having an emperor. It's a tongue twister. But yeah, we can be sovereigns if he really wants that. But I fought it because I believed in him as an emperor.
And also, like, how empowering is it to have... I mean, because, like, I think that you can still have a legitimate argument for having a female be called emperor, kind of like Jadwiga in Poland back in the day.
Yeah.
How she said, "Oh no, I ain't no queen, I
or
am a
Wu
king."
Zetian in China.
Yes,
the only female emperor.
Yes,
and how the pharaohs of Egypt.
Yeah, and like I think that there's a compelling argument for like, you know, reappropriation. Sorry, we're getting social justice here for some people.
Well, we can go like back to Simone de Beauvoir.
Yes,
she defines the woman as the abnormal form of a human. And I suppose these gender titles sort of do that as well. But so we probably lost all the listeners now.
I mean, fuck it. Fuck it. But yeah, we love Nate in this house. Yeah.
And to inform the kids who are listening to the show, it wasn't easy being gay like 15 years ago. A lot has happened in such a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. And I like that we can... Because let me tell you, sometimes I feel like sometimes now, I feel like I have to filter some of the more like what people could consider stereotypically gay things that like I have, like I don't exhibit that because I always feel that like someone is going to say something. And like, I don't know whether that's legitimate or not, but like maybe that's just a leftover of things having been so hard.
We're all a product of our youth.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't.
Because of my next guest in the one-on-ones is going to be Sammy. Sammy and I go way back. Way back. We've known each other for a very long time. So like I use the pronouns she and her to refer to her just because that's just what I got used to during some parts of when we knew each other. And she just is very gay, which I love. And we were talking about this yesterday. And she's like, I'm scared that I'm going to scare people away because I'm going to be swearing. I'm going to be very gay. And I just replied with like, if we need to have a segment where we recommend people what kind of lube to buy, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, like I want people to come on these chats and just feel free. We're having a great conversation. You say whatever you want to say. You know, like, I feel like that's the fun of it. You don't know.
This is my hour.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Mm-hmm. And that was it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ric, for joining me. It was so much fun to interview you, to listen to how you got started, and reminisce about our shared micronational experiences. It was a lot of fun. My next interview will be with Sammy, and I am so excited to post that interview. Just a quick personal note. I know that I had originally scheduled to record tomorrow on the 20th. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. There's some things happening here where I'm going to have a friend moving into the new bedroom here, and there's just a lot of things going up in the air. I'd rather record once things have settled and I know what the lay of the land will be in the future. But I look forward to recording the next session, and yeah, I just want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your support. This has been Microscast. I'm your host, Edgar Carrillo. Thank you for listening.